Salvete Discipuli, and welcome back to chapters 7 and 8. Chapters 7 and 8. If these are on your CD, feel free to burn that CD for anybody. These are part of the course, part of what you're getting your money's worth for. And remember, these are not classes. I'm not teaching class. This is a resource for you. I'm just like a page in the book for you to open up, and I'm talking it rather than reading out of the book. I'm explaining it. Okay, I'm like a handout sheet that you can see and hear. So that's why I'm not here calling on people or giving an assignment. This is not a class. It's simply a reference for things that you need an explanation of, in addition to all the other things you have. Your handout sheets, your PowerPoints, your book, whatever it is, links that you're using to help understand the Latin better. Okay, we're going to talk about two major things today, third declension and prepositions. And I'm going to start with prepositions because it's sort of the tail end of the chapters that we went over before, 5 and 6. Prepositions are words that locate things. For example, from, by, with, down, up, over. You know, these are all prepositions. They give direction, location, in, into. These are all prepositions. They go all over the place. In Latin, prepositions are in prepositional phrases. For example, let's take the preposition in. Looks the same as English, doesn't it? But this little preposition can take the accusative case or the ablative case. Now, the ablative case is a case used by the prepositions. And we'll be talking about ablative, but we're going to add the ablative case to our list of cases. We've had nominative, we've had accusative case, and now we're going to throw in ablative case. And it's used with prepositions. This is an unusual preposition here. When it means into, it puts its object. Prepositions take objects. When you go over, what do you go over? The bridge? Over the rainbow? You know, what do you go over? When you go in, what are you in? Now, are you at rest? So this is motion here. This is at rest. So if I say, she walks into the house. Or let's say she walks, or not use walk because it's going to change it. She sits in the house. Two different animals here. She walks into the house. She sits in the house. Okay, she walks. I'm going to use a word for she, and it's ea. If you want to actually use a word for she, it's ea. Okay, I could say scintilla, Horatia, using a girl's name. Walks is ambulat. First conjugation verb, ends in at. And it's singular. It agrees here because it's not nt, it's at, third person singular. Now here's what we're going to emphasize with the prepositional phrase. This is called in English a prepositional phrase. What's a prepositional phrase? A preposition and its object. Let me repeat that. What's a prepositional phrase? A preposition and its object. Preposition, object. English. Now in Latin, the preposition is going to be in. Whether it means in or into, it's going to be spelled in. Same in Spanish, in. Okay, I-N, or it's N. E-N in Spanish, excuse me. Be in French. Okay, it'd be en la casa in Espanol. Okay, into the house is going to be cas-am, and in the house is going to be cas-a with a long mark over that final A, because it's ablative. Now, this is an accusative case. It ends in am, because when the preposition in can be translated as into or onto, it puts its object into the accusative case. When the preposition in means at rest, sits is not ambulat. Let me erase that. Sedet. I know that was bothering you. Okay, sedet. She is sitting in the house. This is at rest. When you translate this word as in or on, then you use an ablative case for the object. And for a first declension noun, the ablative singular ends in a. Look at your noun chart, which needs to be memorized. Okay? So that, I wanted to get that out of the way. Prepositions other than in is an unusual, take one case. That is, they put their objects in one case. It's either accusative or it's ablative. They can't take both like the preposition in. For example, the preposition with is cum. If I walk with my brother, or let's use a word from the, I walk with a slave. Ambulo cum servo. The preposition, here's a prepositional phrase, cum servo, and rarely does the preposition precede, or excuse me, rarely does the object of the preposition precede the preposition. They usually leave it like this. They don't have to, they usually do. With the slave, notice the O on the end of servus here. That's the ablative singular of a second declension noun. Has to be ablative because of the preposition cum. So whenever you're introduced to a preposition, whenever you're making a flashcard out for a preposition, you want to make sure that you write the preposition and the case it takes for its object. That's part of memorizing the preposition. Again, let me repeat that. When you memorize a preposition, you need to memorize not only what the preposition means and the fact that it is a preposition, but you also have to memorize whether it takes an accusative or ablative not direct object, but object. Okay? For this prepositional phrase. So there you are. One more example of it. Near the house. He parked his car, his chariot, near the house. Prope kasam. Why is there an am on the end of kasam? Because this preposition prope puts its object into the accusative case always. How did I know that? Because every time I see prope, the next word, the object, has an accusative ending on it. Could be accusative singular, could be accusative plural, but it must be accusative. Okay? Enough about prepositions. Please email me, call Mr. Carpinos if you have any further questions on prepositional phrases, but really that's as difficult as it gets. Now we want to focus on the third declension. And this is a big item because the third declension is where most of the nouns in Latin fall. So third declension, we're going to make our chart here. Well, let's include the first and second to review. We have first declension, second declension, and let's put the big bad third declension here. Okay? We have singular and we have plural. You should have a declension chart that mimics what I'm putting up on the board. Singular, plural. Remember, this is the number. Number is whether a noun, a verb, is singular or plural. Then case. Case is the function. We have nominative case for the subject. We have genitive case, which we haven't learned yet. We have dative case, which we haven't learned yet. We have accusative case, which we've learned, the case of the direct object. And I was just talking about the ablative case being used as the object of some prepositions, not all. Okay? That's as far as we've gotten so far. Let me fill in what we've done here. We have an A here. We have AE here for the singular and plural nominative of the first. We don't know genitive dative for accusative AM. And then AS here. Here there's an A with a long mark, so you don't confuse it with this A up here. And you have IS here. We're going to be noticing similarities. We're going to be noticing similarities. Let me put a line here because these are headings, not endings. Remember I told you Latin is an inflectional language, and therefore you're going to be involved with endings. This is where English and Latin go two different ways. English is word order. Latin is inflectional endings. Okay, here we have US, could be an ER. Here we have I. We don't know these yet, genitive and dative, because we haven't had them yet. Then we have UN here and OS. And we have O, and we have IS. Notice the IS is the same as the first declension. Okay? This is where we are up to this point. Now the third declension now, we really don't know what the nominative singular is going to end in. It could be anything. It could be, here's some examples. Lex is a third declension noun. Mater is a third declension noun. Animal is a third declension noun. Orbs is a third declension noun. Nux is a third declension noun. So, wow, The third declension can end in anything. It really is a landfill for all the words that didn't make it into the first and second declension. So all these words that we really don't know, you can't tell by looking at the nominative singular of a third declension noun if it's third declension. You're going to have to look at something else. And that something else is going to be the genitive singular, which we're going to get to in our next video. The plural, however, all the other endings, by the way, we do know. The plural, nominative plural is going to end in es. The accusative singular is going to end in em. The accusative plural is going to end in es. The ablative singular is going to end in e. And the ablative plural here is going to be end in ibus. So our declension charts are filling in. Now there is a fourth and fifth declension too, but we won't worry about that until January. So we just close that up. Realize there are two more declensions to come, but 98% of Latin nouns are in the first three, first, second, and third, and this is the most popular here. So third declension noun. We also have third declension adjectives. We already learned first and second declension adjectives like altus, alta, and altum, masculine, feminine, and neuter. And you can see these used in the back of the book with nouns. This is a typical first and second declension adjective. It's able to describe any noun in the language. I can say the tall mother, alta mater. Mater is a feminine noun of the third declension. And here is a first and second declension adjective describing mother. Notice the endings don't match up here. Because when these adjectives start describing nouns from the third declension, the endings will not look the same. However, there is such a creature as a third declension adjective. For example, strong, fortis, and the neuter form, forte. Okay? Which is the word for strong, masculine and feminine, neuter. It's a third declension adjective. So basically, when you have a third declension adjective describing a third declension noun, you're going to see very similar endings for the most part. When a third declension adjective is describing a first or second declension noun, you're not going to see that. For example, the strong boy would be fortis cluer. And it doesn't look like they go together at all, but they do. They're perfectly agreed. Nominative, nominative, singular, singular, masculine, masculine. Okay, so things are getting a little bit complicated here, but just be aware of the endings. Now, let's take a word like lex. So here we have lex, legem, lege, leges, leges, legibus. We're going to have to get into the genitive case pretty soon, and we will be getting into the genitive in my next video, and you'll be able to see exactly how to tell the declension of a noun by looking at the genitive. So we'll look. Right now, we're just going to mention this is what endings look like. This is how you fill in your chart, and we're okay at this point. For right now, telling a third declension noun means if it's not first or second, it's third. We can do it by process of elimination. Okay. The imperative. I told you about imperative in relationship with the vocative voice. Remember, or vocative case. How you call someone by name. Okay. By the way, we don't list the vocative case here because there's just not that much to it to make a big deal out of it. So we just do nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, and ablative. This is the traditional rendering of the cases. That's why the order is put that way. The imperative. Imperative means command, telling people what to do. Do this and do that. The imperative mood. Okay, if in the Bible it says love your neighbor, love your mother. Okay, here's the way you make an imperative. You take the infinitive, and I'll use the verb to love. Amare means to love. If I take the re off of the word, off of the infinitive, I have the singular imperative, ama. Ama, let's put it this way. And you will see this on your National Latin exam. Ama matrem, love your mother. And I can use the vocative case, Maria, love your mother, ama matrem. So there's the vocative, that's the case, that's telling what to do. Let's say you want to tell your dog to stay. I have a dog named Antonio. So if I want Antonio to stay, I say Antonio mane. Mane. So manere would be the infinitive. You take the re off of the infinitive and you've got the singular imperative. All right? Now how do you make that plural? You make it plural by putting a te on the singular. So if I have ama and I add te, then I'm talking to more than one person. So, love your brothers, fratres. Love your brothers. Amate fratres. So when you put a te on the singular, you end up with the plural. Okay? Now how do you tell people not to do something? Well, you use the word noli. And we get the word no from that. Noli, that's the singular, and nolite is the plural. So if I says, don't touch me, I would say noli, I'm talking to one person, noli tangere, and I use an infinitive after noli. Noli tangere me. The Romans would say noli me tangere. Okay? When the angel appeared to the shepherds, the angels at Christmas time, in the Latin Bible, they would say nolite, because it's plural, timere. Second conjugation here. Nolite timere. Do not be afraid. Nolite timere. So noli and nolite are the way you use, with the infinitive, is the way you use the negative imperative. Okay, I think we're just about coming to the conclusion here, and I need to just talk about the word possum. Possum here. Possum is an irregular verb just like sum. Remember sum, s, sum, est, sunt? Okay. We have the word possum, which is a combination of pot, meaning able, plus the word sum. It's a compound verb. I am able. And when the T and the S come together, the T turns into an S. So if I want to conjugate the word possum, I conjugate it this way. Potest. You just use the verb to be with P-O-T. Possumus. And the T changes to an S when sum has an S. Potestus. This is all in the back of your book. Possum. Now here's something unusual about this word. This word takes a complementary infinitive all the time. I am able what? I'm able to swim. Possum natare. I'm able to eat. Possum edere. He is able to read. Potest legere. We have this phenomenon in English. When you say I am able, you always have an infinitive coming after it. I am able to understand. Possum intellegere in Latin. Okay? Well, AJ Skipley.